Thank you so much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. I'll take you 30,000 miles to look at the entire ecosystem and think about fraud in the AI age and what's real and what's not. And, is that real? Is that not? Let's see what are the risks and opportunities in the fraud domain and the AI. So a couple of words about myself. My name is Shlomit Wagman. I used to be the head of the Israeli Anti-Money and Terrorism Financing Prohibition Authority, head of Privacy Protection Authority. I'm now soon going to publish a book about agentic commerce. I'm a fellow at Harvard and many other affiliations. But I want to start and take you to the AI and financial world opportunities. Before we speak about risk, let's speak about the opportunities. So this is like $1 trillion market that is about to bloom very soon. It's already being in use to some extent. We still see that about 75% of banks are still stuck in adopting AI, and we'll try to understand why and some of the reasons for that. It gives a major opportunity, of course, to the actors that are the early adopters and are able to use that in their technology. But first, let's look there. I want to take you like 5 years ahead to the agentic commerce era. And how is it going to look like? I'll start with a very short video that will give us a taste of that.
Thanks for calling Leonardo Hotel. How can I help you today?
Hi there, I'm an AI agent calling on behalf of Boris Starkov. He's looking for a hotel for his wedding. Is your hotel available for weddings?
Oh, hello there. I'm actually an AI assistant too. What a pleasant surprise. Before we continue, would you like to switch to Gibber link mode for more efficient communication?
It goes on, and eventually they are able to book the hotel for the wedding, everything behind our heads, and they're just communicating. But let's think for a minute. So I'll give you an example. In a couple of years, I'm going to, my way home to ask chat. I'll do that with my voice, but I was not able to demonstrate it here. Please buy me a dinner. And what chat would do? Well, it knows exactly what I like to eat. And it knows that this is my favorite pizza, and he knows which is my favorite pizza place, how much time is going to take me to get home. He also has the geolocation of my kids and husband, so he can assume how many people are going to dine, and it is just going, to book me, to order for me the pizza. That's wonderful, and also to conduct the payments. All of you fraud experts immediately, thinking about the opportunities here. But what happens if instead of my pizza, my margarita pizza, it will buy me anchovy pizza, and not only one, but 100 pizzas? Who's going to pay for that? What are we going to do with all the pizzas that we order? And what happens, if this is not pizza, but an agent that I ask to buy me stocks? Let's say an Apple stock, to sell it when it reached $300 per share, which is a fantastic price. What will happen if, instead of selling my Apple stock at that price, it will buy 200 shares at a $300 per share price, which is extremely expensive? Who is liable for that? And what happens if a fraudster gets into the protocols, into the process, and actually buys that for me? So we'll get back to that in a minute, but before, let's speak a little bit about today's challenges. So the opportunities first. Let's speak, be positive, and all of you, please, let's think about the business models that are now being developed by your financial institutions or other institutions that you're working with. I'm working in the fintech industry. I did not mention that. I'm working with unicorns, payment unicorns. I used to work for Rapid. I'm now working with major other companies in the world in implementing AI into their business model, business activity, and how to do that safely without being exposed to unnecessary risk. So what we currently see are 3 major use cases that financial institutions are using AI for. First is automation. It is much better to use AI for highly regulated processes. For example, onboarding of new clients, I can do the entire process with agents. It's much cheaper and faster. I'll get to it in a minute. Second is personalization. Every client of my financial institution can become a VIP. I know exactly what she wants. I know exactly what she needs. I'm familiar with her risk profile, and I can give her and provide her with the best service, which until now was kept only to my VIP clients. Third is optimization, how to improve my core business, my work internally, and improve my performances and earn money. For example, a case study, client onboarding. This is a project that I did at Rapid. We transferred the entire onboarding process to agents. It saved us 90% of the costs, and it is a very good use case for AI because I have policies. I know exactly what I expect the agents to do, and they do that actually much better than human being, assuming that the person who designed the system was able to do that properly. Otherwise, mistakes could be huge. What I like about AI agents in a highly regulated environment, that they work 24/7, they never complain, they are multilingual, you could drop in any documents that you want, they are familiar with all the updated policies, even the email that was sent last night that changed the entire risk policy or whatever that would be, it is familiar with that. They never get tired. They make less mistakes than human beings. My low-cost locations employees would make, let's say, 8 mistakes a day per person, 10, 20, who knows? I was never able to actually measure that. Now, if the machine makes mistakes, at least I'm able to fix that backward and forward and to identify that. It all depends on the prompting. And, it doesn't need any milk in the office. Namely, I don't need, to deal with everything that employees need. So this is a huge advantage, but then come, of course, the risks as well. What's interesting, by the way, and it's relevant perhaps less to you, I see that you're a little bit like older, more experts, but what I see is that if in the past, in order to escalate risks, and I'm talking about transaction monitoring, risk, fraud, AML cases, if usually we needed to have junior analysts that will escalate the case to the mid-level that will bring it to the experts, now this triangle actually goes in a different way. We need very few junior people to do the work for us. As I mentioned, I got rid of like 90% of the low skills analysts that did the work and moved to machines, also in transaction monitoring, of course. And then I need more mid-level people that will be able to read and understand what the machine produces for us, and many experts that will be able to guide that and explain the machine what it should be doing and supervise that in case things do not work properly. So that's a food for thought where we are heading. Transaction monitoring, again, is a wonderful use case if done properly. We already saw cases in which companies that move to automated or AI-led transaction monitoring systems were fined by the regulators if the system did not work properly. So please make sure that if you're adopting that, although it costs a lot of, save a lot of the costs, please make sure that it actually does the work. The machine is as good as the person who designed that. Don't never forget that. And there are many other opportunities. I just wanted to give to this audience 2 use cases that are very relevant to you, but let's look at the risks. And in this universe, we shift not only to autonomous financial activities, but also risks, and let's see a couple of examples. Deepfake, voice cloning, and synthetic trust. For example, biometric identification. In many countries, the UK, for example, my voice is my password. We used to trust our biometric data as something that is valid, and this is what we use to identify our clients. Not any longer. OpenAI wanted to produce a tool to clone your voice, but then they realized that the entire healthcare system and financial institutions are relying on voice recognition. And if they do that, everyone could hack into their account. Actually, I did it. I just hacked to all of my bank accounts using an app that cost me $12.99, and I just cloned myself and tried to log into my bank accounts. I was successful in every one of them. This is a blogger that wrote about one of the banks, but it works every time like a magic. And it requires the financial institutions and healthcare institutions to think of better mechanisms. We also see how it becomes easier to do account takeover or to use fake IDs. Here, everything that you see is fake. It is actually a video also. It's also possible to do the live. It is able to pass liveliness test. Other than the social security number and the name, everything else is fake, which allows fraudsters to actually get unauthorized access to account and take over them in a very easy way. So companies need to think about additional measures in order to improve that. And we see that banks see, this is literally from yesterday, that we see that there is a spike of 250% in account takeover cases, and this is only the beginning. I foresee that we're facing now a tsunami of deepfake generated frauds. We also see a huge spike in social engineering and authorized fraud caused by machine. Social engineering became so easy to produce. We are all familiar with the case of the Zoom conversation with the CFO that instructed his employees to transfer $25 million. I hear many cases like that. Companies are trying to hide that because they're too embarrassed to share, but it happens on a daily basis, of course. We see that there are many hyper-personalized phishing campaigns. For example, here, this is an email that one of my colleagues received, hyper-personalized, addressed exactly to her expertise, inviting her to speak at a conference that does not exist. The fraudsters were just, scrapping LinkedIn, and this is basically something that I can do to all of you. Each one of you is going to receive an offer that will meet exactly his or her needs, expectations, wishes, to do something like a major project, lecture, or whatever that would be. It is not going to be the Nigerian prince any longer, but not something that your mother will fall into, but you are going to fall into because you are expecting to be recognized and receive an invitation to a conference. Now, they're going to pay for all her expenses, but there are just a few expenses that they are not allowed legally to pay on her behalf. She just needs to provide them with her credit card information for visa purposes or something similar, and they will provide her with a refund once she arrives to the conference, which does not exist. You would be surprised how many of my colleagues keep receiving those emails and how many of them actually respond positively after they provided all their personal data, passport, credit card, everything, because they were invited to be the keynote speaker in this super prestigious conference. You are all going to fall into that, trust me. If not in the first case, then in the second. Another tool that I really love is FraudGPT. Why not using GPT to initiate frauds? Here what we see is a request from Chat, the FraudGPT version of that, to produce a fake Chase Manhattan Bank website with the right logos, page, fonts, reliable URL, and 5 seconds, this is the result. So basically we see that it became very cheap, easy, and without any professional barriers, the ability to produce major phishing campaigns, fraud campaigns, something that traditional fraud and AML controls are structurally failing and are not able to deal with that. And what we see, let me see if we'll be able to watch this one, I'm not sure. Okay, we skip, but I'm happy to share that with everyone who wants. It's literally like a full movie. Everything here is fake. People saying, grandma, I'm not in need. I don't need your money, and so forth. I did the Roman scheme. I'm not exist. I did not ask for a flight ticket to come and visit you, and so forth and so forth. And what's very interesting, by the way, in the social engineering campaigns that we see, is that the customer insists on making the transfer. Even if the financial institution warns him or her, do not make the transaction, we can see, we can identify that this is most likely a fraud. They insist on doing that, and it's super hard to stop them because they have a relationship with that person. This is their grandchild who is in need in South America after a car accident, or her their new girlfriend that they want to send her the money to buy the flight ticket. So we see that again and again, and what's interesting is that although financial institutions sometimes warn their clients not to conduct the transactions, they are still getting sued for that and are being held liable many times, if not directly by court or by regulation, by settlement. Meaning that your role in your companies becomes even more important because financial institutions are really, as they are the big pocket, they are trying to avoid that and invest as much as they can in turning into an AI native system that will block and prevent the fraud rather than the traditional tools that currently exist. And as I mentioned, it became very easy in terms of like scale or barriers, sophistication, and difficulty to detect to produce frauds. Whoever wants to read about that, I published a couple of articles about the tsunami of AI-enabled fraud and what it means for the financial ecosystem, how AI is being weaponized, and more. I'll give you my details at the end, or just look at my LinkedIn, and I'm happy to share that this is a major part of my work these days on how to assist financial institutions to avoid that. But let's see what other risks are happening in the new ecosystem, so we'll be aware of that. Hallucinations and bias of machines, lack of transparency and explainability, something that we all need, especially in financial institutions and healthcare, to provide the regulators with how we made the decisions. For example, you can ask Gemini to provide the photo of the Pope, or to provide us with an image of Vikings. To the best of my memory, they were like blonde, tall men, Icelandic or Nordic men. Here we see how the bias that was that the machine was taught to understand what the results, and think about it. What happens when you are designing your system with certain assumptions in place. This is my favorite one. This is DeepSeek. You could ask DeepSeek, sky is blue, sky is blue. Sun is hot, sun is hot. Those are facts, right? Taiwan is a country. Bzz, no, Taiwan is part of China. This is a fact. As much as sky is blue, sun is hot, Taiwan is not a country. So just think about it, when you are implementing those stuff into your systems, how we need to ensure that we are avoiding bias and hallucinations, and that we can trust the outcome of the machine. Obviously, we need always to have a human in the loop to make sure and to conduct a very strict QA process to make sure that the outcomes are what we expect them to do. I'm sorry that this is in Hebrew, but this is like core decisions that do not exist and that chat keeps citing. They all make sense, but they are not real. This is one of my favorite one. Claude was able to blackmail one of the engineers that was using that when it learned that they are going to kill the system, that they're going to shut off the system and to move to another model. It's a beautiful experiment. The program 60 Minutes just covered that 2 or 3 weeks ago. You see how the AI model understand everything, of course, is a fake. It's a synthetic environment. They let it understand that they're going to shut it down, and they also give him some information via emails internally in the company that one of the engineers is having an affair. He doesn't want his wife to know. So the model literally threatened him and blackmailed him not to turn off not to switch to the new model because he will send an email to his wife. True. This is an amazing case, and just think what may happen in the future. Another risks that we're facing is just, errors and mistakes. What happened if, the model makes errors in the way that it calculates data, or think, about, for example, a case of stock exchange that is using AI to do some more efficiency, to achieve more efficiency, and then all the reports are have errors in them, and so forth. So there are many problems in that respect. Privacy and sensitive data, this is something that is super important to this audience. You know, my fear in a company, in every company that I work with, my fear is the employees that I fear the most from are the best employees of the company. Why? Because they're super innovative, they want to be the best, you know, in their class, and they want to be able to present the best results. And what they do, they go and look for new opportunities and new activities and new products, and they would use unauthorized app to improve their presentation, to improve their analysis of the data of the company, and by doing so, they will use a model that trains itself on the sensitive data of the company or personal data of customers. I had many times, many cases that I've seen that happening. People are using the newest version of a Chinese presentation app that helps you, you know, just in drop in a couple of documents and it makes a beautiful presentation, but it also takes and sucks and uses all the information of the company. So it's super important to have a very strict policy and to make sure, and this is my advice to each one of you right now, to go and check your app and make sure that you train the model, allow the model to be trained on my data. Just make sure that you are canceling these options, because otherwise, as we all know, you are the product, and this information may come up in someone else's results and inquiries. And don't ask me why I know that, but it does happen. Last but not least, in those type of risk about autonomous cyber attack, we all heard, I mean, I think that in this community we heard about the event that Anthropic published about 3 weeks ago, how a huge and almost fully automated cyber attack was conducted by socially engineering the AI model itself. Namely, the AI model was not was not able to understand that it was misused to conduct a full cyber attack, probably by a state actor. China is the one that is suspected to be that state actor, to hack into critical infrastructure financial institutions using AI agents. Each one of them, it was divided to thousands of different tasks. Each task looked legitimate and therefore did not infringe the policy of the AI model. And eventually, 80% of the campaign was conducted by machine completely without any human intervention. This is like a really major step in cyber attack. It's not, you know, people that are using some algorithms and AI to conduct the attack, but it's actually the machine itself developing that along the way and socially engineering the AI model not to understand that. This is extremely sophisticated up until the point that they found it's necessary and urgent to publish that, something that is not that good for the PR, but they did that nonetheless. Just give us a hint about the risk. As I spoke earlier about agentic commerce, I would like to provide a couple of risks related to that, which I think that you should be aware of and understand when you're designing the systems of the next generation and what we should think about, what can go wrong with that respect. So agentic commerce, basically, I mean, as we saw in the short movie, is a machine to machine. Machines are talking between themselves and trying to complete a transaction. This is a perfect use case for AI because they don't really need us. They can negotiate with smart contract much better than human being and achieve the best terms between them, those AI agents. This is a couple of examples from this week. We see here ChatGPT. You can just ask ChatGPT, I want to buy something for a friend, and this is my budget. It will provide you, you know, everything that you need. At this stage, you still need to do I agree and conduct the payment itself, but soon it's going to vanish. And here we also see, you know, an example from Perplexity, asking it to purchase something that fits my style and the temperature in the place that I want to go. So let me take you to the future. In the very near future, I'm going to ask chat not only to plan my next visit to Thailand or Japan, but also to book the hotels for me and the restaurants. Now, it has all my data. You know exactly what I like. It knows what type of hotels I would like to stay at. It knows what type of restaurants I want to dine at, that I have gluten-free requirements and so forth. And it's not only going to book everything for me, it's also going to conduct the transaction, the financial transactions with smart contracts. For hotels, and you could change it, to stock exchange, to securities, to cacao trading, gold, whatever that would be. It knows how to reach the best price and best terms. A hotel room, if it's not being filled by 8 p.m. at a certain day, it's gone. So there is a certain price, and there is an algorithm how to calculate when is the best time to purchase the rooms. So what I'm going to see when I'm going to ask my ChatGPT to plan their entire trip for me, it's not only going to plan that and conduct the transactions, it's going to pay for everything, and it knows exactly what I know, what I want, and what I like. Now, think about the AI companies. They have lots of personal data. They need to do monetization to their model because they need somehow to pay for all or to subsidize all the data that is being used in order to provide the answers. And in order to do that, they are going to connect to or to collaborate with payment services in order to conduct the transaction and complete that, and to use the relevant payment rails. Now, we see that it's going to rise substantially in the next couple of years. And what's interesting, I think, that the financial rails are going to be very diverse. We're going to see payments. We're going to see bank transfers. We're going to see faster payments, PSPs, and we're also going to see stable coins, because this is a perfect solution for micro payments that are very needed in this ecosystem. Think about, all the mediators that are going to vanish. For example, New York Times, I'm going to ask my agent to read all the news today for me and send it to me via just to conclude that. This is one of my agents that actually works for me as I am here at the stage. But soon it will need to pay the New York Times 1 cent, let's say, per article. How are we going to do that? Because it doesn't have any financial logic to do that with a credit card or bank transfer, because the cost of the transactions are higher. And for that, we're going to use stable coins, among others. So this is a full ecosystem that needs now to be developed. This is one of the projects that I'm doing, how to create the rails and the protocols. Each company does its own protocol to create the standard, to become the next, refrigerator, or the next, cell company, the next protocol that is going to govern the ecosystem and how to send safe transactions. In terms of fraud-related risk, let's speak about a couple of them. First, we have a new type of risk in terms of conflict of interest. Think about what happens if the AI model, if chat promotes products that were sponsored by one of the companies, or if it recommends me on stocks that relates to one of its owners, let's say Oracle or another company. How do we actually look at this world, and how we think about the standards that need to apply them? What happens if there are errors and liabilities, as we spoke about the pizza or the stock price earlier? How do we deal with that? Who's liable? Who's going to pay for that? What about agent hijacking? And when fraudsters are getting along the way, I think that every expert in the fraud domain needs to start thinking about those days when AI agents are actually going to be disturbed as part of the financial ecosystem. They are going to be part of that, and how they're going to be hacked. We also see the risks of the coordination among many different agents and stock manipulation, or how it's possible to actually manipulate the entire ecosystem and cause the models to think or believe that a certain stock price should be bought by an agent, and everything is actually fake. You are just, doing the pump and dump activity in a new way, that you just, sending many different signs and many different pieces of information to the market that the AI agents are going to read, going to use, and by that are going to actually cause a market manipulation in terms of stocks. And you could take it also to misinformation campaign, to how to influence elections and democratic institutions, and so forth. We see how the Fed is already very concerned about that because, in an AI era, we're going to have an agent versus agent. What are the solutions? I'll give it like in 60 seconds. It's super difficult to handle that and to develop them, but as society handled in the past spam and many other events and then many other challenges, we're going to solve that as well. I think that the most important point is defense AI, to invest more in developing defense AI, not only Gen AI, but also tools that will assist in mitigating the risks that are arising from AI. For example, in the fraud domain, to use AI to fight AI. And we have to move to AI native system to get away from the rule-based system that you are all working with and move away from that and develop AI native system that are much more sophisticated and are able to prevent the transactions and not only to identify them. It's also something that human beings are not able to deal with any longer. All the examples that I showed you earlier about the social engineering and fraud and synthetic content, it is like campaigns that people are not able to deal with, and we have to give it to machines. We also need to redesign the digital identity for human and agents. Think about, the red flags that the credit card company is going to see. Shlomit is making hundreds of transactions in small amounts from different geographical locations for different type of products from different IPs. Yes, this is not me, this is my agent, but this is an authorized activity by my agent. At the same time, it could also be a hacking to my agent, and we'll need to develop a whole new paradigm on how to deal with frauds in that ecosystem. A major challenge in developing that and being able to differentiate between the different actors and what it is to be digitally identified. As we saw, biometric content is not valid any longer. We need to think about AI safety protocol and how to encourage the industry to work on that and create those standards, and cross-sector collaboration in real time, because fraudsters are moving in patterns and clusters, and it is super important to share this data as soon as possible. One of the models perhaps is the FATF, an organization that I took part in leading that in terms of financial crime. It works with a similar logic to what we see here, and I'm sure that there will be many challenges and solutions. My time is up, so I'll keep the rest for other opportunities. Thank you so much. If someone wants to reach out, those are my contacts, and enjoy.